Before the outbreak of World War I, Europe was a continent of empires and alliances. Nations like Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Russia dominated the political landscape. The Industrial Revolution had transformed economies and societies, leading to rapid urbanization and technological advancements. However, beneath the surface, tensions simmered due to competition for colonies, military buildups, and complex alliances. The world was changing fast, and many people felt both excitement and anxiety about the future. This scene sets the stage for understanding why the world was so volatile on the eve of the Great War. As the 20th century began, European powers were increasingly suspicious of each other. The formation of two major alliance systems, the Triple Entente Britain, France, Russia, and the Triple Alliance Germany, Austria, Hungary, Italy, meant that any conflict could quickly escalate. Nationalism was on the rise, with various ethnic groups seeking independence or greater influence. Meanwhile, an arms race was underway, as countries expanded their armies and navies. These factors combined to create a powder keg, ready to explode at the slightest spark. June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated in Sarajevo by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. This event shocked Europe and set off a chain reaction. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia and, with Germany's support, issued an ultimatum. When Serbia's response failed to satisfy Austria-Hungary, war was declared. The alliance system quickly drew other nations into the conflict, turning a regional crisis into a global war. Following the assassination, countries began to mobilize their armies. Russia supported Serbia, leading Germany to declare war on Russia. France, allied with Russia, was soon at war with Germany. When German troops invaded Belgium to reach France, Britain entered the war to defend Belgian neutrality. Within weeks, much of Europe was engulfed in conflict, as alliances triggered a domino effect of war declarations. Western Front became the main theater of war in Western Europe. German forces advanced through Belgium and into France, aiming for a quick victory. However, the French and British armies managed to halt the German advance at the First Battle of the Marne. Both sides dug in, creating a line of trenches that stretched from the North Sea to Switzerland. This marked the beginning of trench warfare, which would define much of the conflict. Trench warfare was brutal and exhausting. Soldiers lived in muddy, cramped conditions, often surrounded by rats and plagued by disease. The constant threat of enemy attacks, artillery bombardments, and poison gas made life extremely dangerous. Despite the hardships, camaraderie among soldiers grew strong. Letters from home, small comforts, and moments of humor helped them endure the horrors of the front lines. World War I saw the introduction of many new weapons and technologies. Machine guns, tanks, airplanes, and poison gas changed the nature of warfare. These innovations made attacks more deadly and defenses more difficult to overcome. The war became a test of industrial capacity, as nations raced to produce more advanced weapons. Technology would continue to shape the conflict in unexpected ways. While the Western Front was locked in stalemate, the Eastern Front saw more movement. Here, Germany and Austria-Hungary fought against Russia. Battles were fought across vast distances, with armies advancing and retreating over hundreds of miles. The Russian army suffered heavy losses, and the strain of war contributed to unrest at home. The Eastern Front was a crucial but often overlooked part of the conflict. Naval warfare played a significant role in World War I. The British Royal Navy blockaded Germany, aiming to cut off supplies and weaken the German war effort. In response, Germany used submarines or U-boats to target Allied shipping. The sinking of civilian ships, such as the Lusitania, shocked the world and increased tensions, especially with the United States. Control of the seas was vital for both sides. World War I was a truly global conflict, with soldiers from colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific fighting alongside European armies. These troops played vital roles on various fronts, often facing discrimination and harsh conditions. Their contributions are sometimes overlooked, but they were essential to the war effort. The experience of fighting in Europe would have lasting impacts on colonial societies. Back home, civilians were deeply affected by the war. Governments introduced rationing, censorship, and propaganda to maintain morale and support for the war effort. Women entered the workforce in large numbers, taking on jobs previously held by men. The war changed daily life as families coped with shortages, loss, and uncertainty. The home front became a crucial part of the overall struggle. Governments used propaganda to shape public opinion and maintain support for the war. Posters, newspapers, and films encouraged patriotism and demonized the enemy. Propaganda also played a role in recruiting soldiers and raising funds. While it helped unite people, it sometimes spread misinformation and fueled hatred. The power of propaganda became one of the war's lasting legacies. 1915, the Allies launched the Gallipoli campaign in an attempt to open a new front and secure a sea route to Russia. British, Australian, New Zealand, and French troops landed on the Gallipoli Peninsula, facing fierce resistance from Ottoman forces. The campaign turned into a costly stalemate with heavy casualties on both sides. Ultimately, the Allies were forced to withdraw, making Gallipoli one of the war's most tragic episodes. The Middle East became another important theater of World War I. British and Arab forces fought against the Ottoman Empire, aiming to weaken its control over the region. The famous Arab Revolt, led by figures like T. E. Lawrence, played a key role. The conflict in the Middle East would have lasting consequences, shaping the borders and politics of the region for decades to come. Initially part of the Triple Alliance, Italy switched sides in 1915 to join the Allies. Italian forces fought primarily against Austria-Hungary along the mountainous Italian front. The fighting was grueling, with harsh weather and difficult terrain adding to the challenges. Italy's entry stretched the Central Powers and added another dimension to the conflict. World War I also spread to Africa, where colonial powers fought for control of territories. British, French, Belgian, and German forces clashed in campaigns across the continent. African soldiers and porters played crucial roles, often under harsh conditions. The war's impact on Africa was profound, affecting societies and economies for years to come. Battle of Verdun, fought in 1916, was one of the longest and bloodiest battles of the war. French and German armies clashed for months, with both sides suffering massive casualties. Verdun became a symbol of French determination and the horrors of trench warfare. The phrase, "they shall not pass," captured the spirit of the defenders. The battle left a lasting scar on France. Battle of the Somme, launched by the Allies in 1916, aimed to break the stalemate on the Western Front. It became infamous for its high casualties and limited gains. On the first day alone, the British suffered over 57,000 casualties. The battle demonstrated the deadly power of modern weapons and the challenges of trench warfare. Despite the losses, the Allies learned valuable lessons for future offensives. World War I marked the first major use of airplanes in combat. Pilots engaged in dogfights, conducted reconnaissance, and even bombed enemy positions. Air warfare was dangerous and experimental, with rapid advancements in technology. Famous aces like the Red Baron became legends. The Skies became a new and unpredictable battlefield. In 1917, the strain of war had pushed Russia to the brink. Widespread discontent led to the Russian Revolution, which overthrew the Tsar and brought the Bolsheviks to power. The new government sought peace, signing the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with Germany. Russia's withdrawal from the war allowed Germany to shift forces to the Western Front, changing the balance of power. 1917, the United States entered World War I on the side of the Allies. Several factors influenced this decision, including German submarine attacks on American ships and the Zimmermann telegram, which revealed a German plot to ally with Mexico. American troops and resources provided a much-needed boost to the weary Allies, tipping the balance in their favor. 1918, Germany launched a series of major offensives on the Western Front, hoping to win the war before American forces arrived in full strength. Initially, these attacks made significant gains, but the Allies regrouped and counterattacked. The arrival of fresh American troops and improved Allied coordination turned the tide. By the summer, German advances had been halted. The Allies launched the 100 Days Offensive in August 1918, a series of successful attacks that pushed German forces back. This campaign marked the beginning of the end for the Central Powers. Allied advances were relentless, and German morale began to collapse. The offensive demonstrated the effectiveness of new tactics in combined arms warfare. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed, bringing an end to the fighting. The guns fell silent across the Western Front. Soldiers and civilians alike celebrated the end of the war, though the cost had been immense. Millions were dead or wounded, and much of Europe lay in ruins. The world had been forever changed by the Great War. 1919, world leaders gathered in Paris to negotiate peace. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh terms on Germany, including territorial losses, military restrictions, and reparations. Many Germans saw the treaty as unfair, sowing seeds of resentment. The peace settlement also redrew the map of Europe, creating new countries and altering borders. The treaty's legacy would shape the future of Europe. League of Nations was established after World War I to promote peace and prevent future conflicts. It was the first international organization of its kind, aiming to resolve disputes through diplomacy rather than war. While the League had some successes, it struggled with limited authority and the absence of major powers like the United States. Its shortcomings would become apparent in the years ahead. World War I had a devastating impact on the global economy. European countries faced massive debts, inflation, and shortages. The war disrupted trade and destroyed infrastructure. Many veterans struggled to find work, and entire regions faced economic hardship. The economic turmoil contributed to political instability and set the stage for future crises. War brought significant social changes. Women who had taken on new roles during the conflict began to demand greater rights and opportunities. The experience of war also led to shifts in attitudes toward authority and tradition. Many people questioned old beliefs and sought new ways of living. The social fabric of Europe and beyond was forever altered. World War I spurred important advances in medicine. Doctors developed new techniques for treating wounds and infections. The use of antiseptics, blood transfusions, and improved surgical methods saved countless lives. The war also highlighted the need for better mental health care, as many soldiers suffered from shell shock. Medical innovations from the war would benefit society for years to come. War created a lost generation of young people whose lives were forever changed. Many who survived the fighting struggled to adjust to peacetime. The trauma of war left deep emotional scars, and a sense of disillusionment spread across Europe. Writers, artists, and thinkers grappled with the meaning of the conflict, producing works that reflected the uncertainty of the era. Women played a crucial role during World War I, both on the home front and in support roles near the front lines. They worked in factories, served as nurses, and kept society running while men fought. Their contributions challenged traditional gender roles and paved the way for greater equality. The war marked a turning point in the fight for women's rights. World War I inspired a wave of new art and literature. Poets like Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon captured the horrors of the trenches, while artists experimented with new styles to express the trauma of war. The conflict gave rise to movements like Dadaism, which rejected traditional values. Art and literature became powerful tools for processing and remembering the war. As the war ended, the world was hit by the Spanish flu pandemic. The virus spread rapidly among soldiers and civilians, killing millions worldwide. The pandemic added to the suffering and chaos of the post-war period. It also highlighted the importance of public health and the need for international cooperation in fighting disease. World War I led to the collapse of several empires, including the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, German, and Russian empires. New countries emerged from the ruins and old borders disappeared. The end of empire brought both hope and uncertainty, as people struggled to build new nations and identities. The political map of Europe and the Middle East was redrawn. Aftermath of World War I saw the rise of new nations in Europe and the Middle East. Countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia gained independence. The process was often difficult, with conflicts over borders and national identity. The creation of new states reflected the principle of self-determination, but it also brought new challenges. War's impact on the Middle East was profound. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire led to the creation of new states under British and French control. Borders were drawn with little regard for local populations, sowing seeds of future conflict. The legacy of World War I continues to shape the politics and societies of the region today. After the devastation of World War I, people around the world longed for peace. Efforts to prevent future wars included disarmament treaties and international cooperation. While hopes were high, the challenges of rebuilding and addressing unresolved issues made lasting peace difficult to achieve. The interwar years would be marked by both optimism and uncertainty. Millions of soldiers returned home after the war, many bearing physical and psychological wounds. The experience of combat left lasting scars, and support for veterans was often inadequate. The challenges of reintegration and the trauma of war shaped a generation. The sacrifices of these men and women are remembered to this day. Technological innovations of World War I had far-reaching effects. Advances in aviation, medicine, and communications would shape the modern world. The war demonstrated the power of industry and science, but also the dangers of unchecked technological progress. The lessons learned would influence future conflicts and peacetime development. End of World War I brought political upheaval across Europe. Monarchies fell, revolutions erupted, and new ideologies gained ground. The struggle to build stable governments was often turbulent. The political changes of the post-war period set the stage for future conflicts and the rise of new powers. Unresolved issues of World War I, including harsh peace terms and economic instability, contributed to the rise of extremist movements. The seeds of World War II were sown in the aftermath of the Great War. Understanding the connections between the two conflicts is essential to grasping the history of the 20th century. World War I claimed millions of lives. Memorials and cemeteries across the world honor those who died. Remembrance ceremonies such as Armistice Day keep the memory of the fallen alive. The war's human cost remains a powerful reminder of the need for peace and understanding among nations. The Great War taught the world many hard lessons. The dangers of nationalism, unchecked militarism, and rigid alliances became clear. The importance of diplomacy and international cooperation was underscored. While the world would face new challenges, the memory of World War I continues to shape our understanding of conflict and peace. World War I left a deep mark on culture, influencing art, literature, music, and film. The trauma and disillusionment of the war found expression in new artistic movements and works. The conflict changed how people thought about heroism, sacrifice, and the meaning of life. Its cultural legacy endures in countless ways. In the aftermath of World War I, the world was forever changed. New nations emerged, old empires fell, and societies were transformed. The war's legacy continues to shape our world today, reminding us of the costs of conflict and the importance of striving for peace. Understanding World War I helps us better understand the world we live in.